Okay, Wildcats. Today we're looking at Thursday, April 25th, operations of polynomial functions on page 77. If you would, update your table of contents. Okay, now your table of contents are updated. Let's take a look at our notes. All right, operations of polynomials on page 77. Operation of polynomial steps. Step 1, composition of functions. Refer to page 10 for composition of function notes. Step 2, distribute. Step 3, combine like terms. Step 4, write in standard form. Okay, now your notes are updated. Let's take a look at our examples. All right, perform the indicated operations. Identify any restrictions. Given f of x equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 6 and g of x equals 2x minus 2. Oh, as I knocked the camera there. All right, example 1. F plus g of x, okay, is equal to f of x plus g of x. Okay, well, f of x is 2x squared plus 4x minus 6. And then we can plus 2x minus 2. All right, well, that's 2x squared. 4x plus 2x is 6x. And then negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. All right, let's take a look at example 2. So you have f minus g of x. So that's equal to f of x minus g of x. Now in example 1, I showed you adding vertically, but here I'm going to subtract horizontally. So that's 2x squared plus 4x minus 6 minus 2x minus 2. Okay, so that's 2x squared plus 4x minus 6, and we're going to distribute the negative 1. So negative 2x, and negative times negative is a positive 2. At this point, we're going to combine like terms. All right, well, that's 2x squared. Combine the 4x minus the 2x, and again, I'm going to shade these as I go through them. 4x minus 2x is plus 2x, and then negative 6 and 2 is negative 4. And you're done. Okay, now let's take a look at example 3. Now here, that's g of x times f of x. So that's 2x minus 2 times 2x squared plus 4x minus 6. So here we FOIL. So 2x times 2x squared is 4x cubed. 2x times 4x is 8x squared. And then 2x times negative 6 is negative 12x. Now we're going to multiply by negative 2. So negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x squared. And negative 2 times 4 is a minus 8x. And then negative 2 times a negative 6 is a plus 12. So then combine terms, so that's 4x cubed. 8x squared minus 4x squared is a plus 4x squared. Negative 12x minus 8x is minus 20x plus 12. Okay. All right, now let's take a look at example 4. Now this is f of x divided by g of x. So that's 2x squared plus 4x minus 6. And I'm going to use the orange marker for the division symbol. So divided by 2x minus 2. Okay, now at this point we need to factor the numerator and the denominator. So it looks like we can factor out a 2 first here, so that's 2 times 1x squared plus 2x minus 3. And we can also factor out a 2 from the denominator. So that's 2 times 1x minus 1. Now at this point, 2 divided by 2 is 1. And we need to now factor the numerator, which is 2 parentheses. We know x and x make x squared divided by 1x minus 1, which we can just write as x minus 1. Now at this point we need to find all the combinations that make negative 3 and combine to be a positive 2. So negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. So that works. So we have x plus 3 times x minus 1. Okay, this divides and becomes 1. You're left with x plus 3. Now, I almost forgot, but it says identify any restrictions. Well, there's no denominator in example 1, 2, 3, or 4 because that divides out. So there are no restrictions in these examples. Okay, go ahead and finish up example 1 through 4. All right, now let's take a look at example 5. It says perform the indicator operation, identify any restrictions. So here we have f minus g of x. So that's f of x minus g of x. Well, f of x is x squared minus 4 minus g of x, which is 1x minus 2. Now, when there's a negative in front of the parentheses, put a 1, and we're going to distribute the negative 1. So that's x squared minus 4. Negative 1 times 1x is negative 1x, and negative 1 times negative 2 is a positive 2. So you're left with 1x squared. I'm going to shade that one. Minus 1x. Negative 4 and 2 is a negative 2. And then you're done. Okay, now let's take a look at example 6. Okay, so we have g of x divided by f of x. So g of x divided by f of x. Okay, so g of x is x minus 2 divided by f of x, which is x squared minus 4, which we need to factor the denominator, which this is x minus 2, and then x squared minus 4 factors to be x minus 2 divided or times x plus 2. Which x minus 2 divided by x minus 2 divides and becomes 1, and you're left with 1 divided by x plus 2. Now, because you have a denominator, we need to set the denominator equal to 0, so x plus 2, and we say not equal to 0 because the denominator can't be 0, because a number divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, so we subtract 2 from both sides, so we know our restriction is x does not equal 2. Okay, so go ahead and finish up example 6. All right, now let's take a look at example 7. All right, example 7. So we have g of x divided by h of x. Well, g of x is x minus 2, and h of x is the square root of x plus 3. Okay, now we're going to rewrite it. Square root of x plus 3 as x plus 3 to the 1/2 power. Okay, but there's a problem. Is you can't have this in denominator. So what we need to do is we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by x plus 3 to the 1/2 power. And we can do that because anything divided by itself is 1. So we're multiplying by a special 1, and you'll see why in just a second. So that's x minus 2 times x plus 3 to the 1/2 power. Well, here you multiply exponents, you add them. 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1, so this is divided by x plus 3 to the 1 power, and then you'd write this as x minus 2 times the square root of x plus 3 divided by x plus 3. Okay, last example. Let's take a look at example 8. So we have g of x times k of x. So g of x is x minus 2 times k of x, which is 1 divided by x cubed minus 2x squared minus 9x plus 18. Now what we need to do here is we need to factor the denominator. So this is equal to x minus 2 divided by, looks like we can factor by grouping. So we can factor out an x squared here, which times x minus 2. We can factor out a minus 9 times x minus 2. Looks like we need one more line here for our work. All right, so then that leaves x minus 2 divided by x minus 2 times x squared minus 9, which the x minus 2 is divided and become 1, and that becomes 1 divided by x squared minus 9 factors to be x minus 3 times x plus 3. Okay. All right. So here, these become your restrictions. So we have x minus 3 not equal to 0. So x does not equal 3. And x plus 3 does not equal 0. So x does not equal negative 3. So there are your restrictions. Okay. So go ahead and finish up example 8 and start working on your assignment, and have a wonderful Wildcat day.